Here we go. It's all over. Christmas, Boxing Day, Christmas Eve. It's all done, isn't it? 6 centigrade, which is 42.8. Now, do you remember I said double it and add 30? Well, that would be 6 centigrade, so that's 12. Add 30 is 42. So it's pretty close. It's actually 42.8. 99% humidity. We've had rain and no wind as such. The flag isn't doing anything. 1034 millibars. So the weather is kind of just grey and dull here on the south coast of England. Start with the bad news first. A lot of people have been ill. In fact, last night, it's Friday now, Friday morning, what's the time, 7 o'clock or something. Friday morning, last night, I was in bed, I felt ill, I had a cough, I was blocked up, I was spluttering, I felt dreadful. I'm okay now. I'm perfectly all right. It seems to be a 12-hour thing. You know, they say, oh, it's a 24-hour bug. Well, this seems to be a 12-hour bug. We had several people that didn't turn up yesterday, Boxing Day, because they're ill. So that was a shame. It is going round, whatever this bug is. It's always the way, though, in the winter here. I don't know about abroad. What's it like in America, Australia, Spain, all over the place? Do you get all these bugs every winter? But we've all survived one way or another. Now, I've called this episode New Year 1951 to 2025. I don't know why. I think I was thinking that I was born in 51 and we're coming up to 25. So that's kind of my life, isn't it? I was thinking of New Year's back in the old days and Christmases back in the old days. But before I go into that, what did you get for Christmas? Do let me know. Raise Rants at protonmail.com. I got a trail cam. Do you know what a trail cam is? It's a camouflage thing that you hide in the jungle or the woods or your garden if you haven't got woods at the back of your house. And it's got sensors on it, so it starts recording when there's movement. And so far we've had squirrels, jays, they're lovely. We've got a pair of jays that come down for the monkey nuts. What else have we had? A starling, a pigeon, a robin, he set it off. It's really good. So I'm pleased with that. That was from Tricia. I've been talking about a trail cam, as they call them, for a number of years now, thinking, well, I don't know, should I get one? They're not cheap. Should I get one? Anyway, she's got me one, which is lovely. And I got for her a pair of noise-cancelling headphones, which she thinks are marvellous because she can cancel me out. I'm still a bit coffee and blocked up. Coffee? No, not coffee. Actually, I must make coffee in a minute. It was a dreadful night I had. I don't know what sort of bug that was. So yes, Tricia, I gave her the noise-cancelling headphones because I'm a noise apparently, so I thought that's an ideal present. And apart from blocking me out, she could also listen to her music, which is on her phone because she goes out for these long walks and things, and she likes to have her music. But proper headphones, you know, ear-covering ones or whatever they call them, like we had in the good old days. I didn't drink or eat too much. In fact, I weighed myself this morning over the entire Christmas period. That's Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day. I've only put on 2 pounds. It's gone down a little bit. Yesterday it was up. So I've just got to get rid of that extra 2 pounds and I'm back where I was before. Haven't been up in the radio room here, the high-tech air-conditioned studio, recording studio. Haven't been up here at all, really. I've popped up once or twice, but that's about it. Not spoken to people on the radio. There's a lot of clearing up to do today. I expect you've all had that. I went down early, started clearing up. Then Tricia came down, made breakfast, and she said, look, you keep out of the way while I clear up. She said, go and do a podcast or something. Haven't you got a podcast to do? So I said, yes, I have actually. So I'm up here hiding, but I must make some coffee though in a minute. We've got a couple of young children, nephews, that enjoyed yesterday. They were screaming. Well, how old are they? 4, I think, and 6. I don't know, something like that. Of course, they loved it all. They were fighting on the floor and shrieking and screaming. I love all that. I know a lot of people, as they get older, they don't like to hear children. You know, they'll move next to a school and then complain, oh, all this noise at playtime. Do we have to have all that noise? Well, of course we do. You move next to a school, what do you expect? Some people are miserable, aren't they? When I was young, I used to think all old people were miserable. I think I was right, actually. They seem to be miserable. I'm old, but I don't think I'm miserable, am I? Do you think I'm miserable? Raise Rants at protonmail.com. Don't answer that. No, I don't think I'm miserable. I like to hear children playing. We do have a school. It's actually about a quarter of a mile away. But in the summer, we can hear them in the playground all laughing and shrieking. It's good. I think being around or hearing younger people, especially children, it keeps you young. Well, that's what I think anyway. I know a lot of older people don't like that. But the boys yesterday, they were rolling around on the dining room floor. They were having a great time. Shrieking, you couldn't hear yourself think because they're shrieking. I love all that. Email from Dennis. He says, I don't like Christmas. I don't do Christmas at all. You sound like Scrooge, Dennis. Why don't you like Christmas? He's just put in his email that it's not his thing, it's not his religion, and he doesn't see why he should celebrate it. Well, that's fair enough, Dennis. You don't have to celebrate it. I know one or two people that don't celebrate it. In fact, I know of some people, very nice people, what are they, Jehovah's Witnesses. They don't celebrate Christmas, birthday, Easter, anything like that, which is fine, it's up to them. I always think that it's best to let people get on with what they want to do. Live and let live, If they don't want to celebrate Christmas, don't. I do. So there. Each to their own, this is it, isn't it? If we all thought that way, each to their own, live and let live, I think the world will be a happier place. I remember a chap years ago, it's just come to mind actually, in the pub, of course, and he was saying to someone, there were a couple in there that we knew, a man and wife, and it was their anniversary, and they'd popped in, they were having a meal, there was a restaurant connected to this pub, and they popped into the bar first, just to see all us lot, and we were saying congratulations on however many years it was, and this chap said, I don't know why you're celebrating an anniversary, what's the point? He was a miserable, I nearly swore then, he was a miserable devil. There we are, that'll do. He really was a miserable. And we were all saying, well, why not? It's a celebration. They've been married so many years. This is their anniversary. Why not go out for a drink and a meal? Oh, I don't see the point in all that. Needless to say, he was married, but his wife had chucked him out. I don't know why. Probably because he was a miserable. So that was that. And he was just miserable when he was married, and he got worse when she threw him out. She bin bagged him. Have you heard that expression? He got bin bagged. You know the bin bags, the plastic bags you put in your dustbin? Well, what that means, you probably know, but if you don't, what that means is you get chucked out by your wife, she gets a bin bag, chucks your clothes in there, or some of your important clothes, underwear and shirts and whatever, chucks them in there, chucks the bin bag outside the front door, and that's it, you're out. So you've been bin bagged. Obviously, I don't remember New Year's Eve and Christmas, in 1951. That's when I was born. I think earliest Christmas I can remember is when I was 2 or 3. I remember the Christmas tree and opening presents and things. Wasn't sure what it was all about. Of course, as I got older, Christmas was great fun. Early teens, it was great fun. But then mid-teens, I'm going out, meeting people, making friends. I went to work when I was 15. So I had friends at work. So the home type Christmas was becoming less and less for me. We were out. Christmas Eve, a whole crowd of us from work went out. New Year's Eve, of course, we were out. Christmas Day I had at home, I think, and Boxing Day. But New Year's Eve was always something going on down the local pub. And in my teens, that's where I was New Year's Eve. And of course, the pub had an extension, so it's open till 12:30, was it, 1 o'clock? Of course, back then I could do that. I can't now. If I went and stayed in a pub till 1 o'clock now, I think I'd need a week off. I need a week in bed to recover. Of course, then later on, marriage comes along, doesn't it? And babies, and you can't go and spend New Year's Eve in the pub when you've got babies and things. Babies and things, I don't know what the things are. Nappies everywhere and stuff. Diapers, I suppose, all over the place. Happy days. I was talking to a friend on the radio before Christmas, and I said, what are you doing New Year's Eve? Because we're not doing anything. And he said, nothing. He said, we've done nothing for a few years now. He reckons when you get to your 70s, you don't do anything. I do know 1 or 2 people in their 70s, they've got New Year's Eve down the pub or whatever they're doing. So that's not a hard and fast rule, but certainly for younger people, they do enjoy going out on New Year's Eve. You have to buy tickets, don't you, to go to your pub. If they've got something on, they've got the extension, you've got to buy your tickets, £5 or £10 or whatever, which is fair enough, I suppose, because they've got a lot of stuff to lay on. They've got to have extra staff for the evening, so that's fair enough. In fact, I know a couple of people, they're having New Year's Eve at home. They're in their 70s. They do a party at home, which is great. There's no driving. There's no having to get to a pub and get home afterwards. They just go upstairs to bed. In fact, one of them lives in a bungalow, so they just go along the hall into the bedroom. So that's easy, isn't it? Drink what you like, do what you like, and then go to bed when you like. Just have a few people round for the evening, which is great. You know what I'm looking forward to next, don't you? Not the New Year's thing, but the spring. I'm always on about the spring every single year. For 73 years, every year, well, no, not quite. I wasn't on about the spring when I was a baby. Do you know, as soon as I was 5 or 6 years old, I looked forward to the spring because I liked being in the garden. I liked poking bulbs into the ground. I remember we had a box full of bulbs. I don't know where they came from. And I was going around the garden poking them into the earth. And then in the spring or whatever, I don't know what bulbs they were. I think they were daffodils. Perhaps I did it before the spring. Anyway, in the spring, they all popped up. We had daffodils all over the garden. They're probably still there now. I know where the house, well, it was a bungalow at that time that I lived in. Moved there when I was 5. My dad was heavily into gardening. My mum was good at gardening, so I think that's where I got it from. I used to love poking these bulbs into the ground. It was like a miracle, you know. You wait weeks and weeks and weeks, nothing happens. Then suddenly, whoa, oh look, we got daffodils all over the place. It was amazing. I think that's good for children to get into that sort of thing, not just sit indoors watching the telly or these days on their iPad or whatever they've got, iPhone. Telephone? Do people use that word anymore? Telephone? Why don't you telephone me? No, they don't, do they? In the old days, you'd say, I'll give you a bell. What was it? I'll give you a call on the blower. Have you heard that term, blower? Now, how many of you know where that's come from? I'll call you on the blower. Where it comes from is ships. You probably know this, but I'll tell you anyway. I'll tell you why I'll tell you anyway, because I've got to make this an hour long and I don't know what to say. How am I going to talk for an hour? Easy, you're saying. You just sit there talking rubbish as usual. Okay, fair enough. Point taken. On the ship, down to the engine room, they had a pipe, just a hollow pipe. And at each end, you would have a little whistle in it and you blow it like that. And the other end, the whistle would go off. So you took the whistle out your end, blew down the pipe, and the whistle would go the other end. The chap the other end would take his whistle out and he'd shout down this pipe, hello? Hello, it's me. What do you want? Nothing, just testing. So they called the telephone the blower. Another term is the twisted pair. I'll give you a call on the twisted pair. Now that's the wires to the telephones, the old-fashioned telephones. They were twisted wires, weren't they? A twisted pair of wires. Amazing. What else were phones called? I don't know. I'll give you a bell, I'll give you a ring, I'll call you on the blower. There are probably more, but I can't remember. Of course, the very first telephones didn't have a dial. You would pick it up. That's all you had to do, pick up the receiver, as they called it. And the operator would say, number please, and you'd tell her the number you want, or him, mustn't be sexist. Tell him or her the number you want. She would then put you through to that number. And she could listen in. And of course, if it's a small village, the local telephone operator, which was probably behind the post office or wherever in the village, she could listen in to the calls. So she knew exactly what was going on. Oh, Mrs. Smith down there at number 12. She's always phoning the chap in the ironmonger's shop. There's something going on there from what they were saying. They were going to meet tonight in the park. Oh, yeah, what about her husband? You can imagine, can't you, all this sort of stuff going on in a village. And the local telephone operator knows exactly what's going on, listens into all the phone calls. And then I suppose she could blackmail people. What am I saying? We can't talk about blackmailing people. Stone their crows. It's the same with postcards. You know, the postman would read the postcard as he's walking up the pathway to put it through your letterbox. He's reading the postcard. Hello, Gladys, we're having a good time down in Cornwall. Glad you're not here. See you soon. So he knew what was going on. Do people send postcards these days? I don't think they do. When was the last time I sent a postcard to someone? I really can't remember. Probably to something like Radio London. Was it London or Caroline? 17 Curzon Street. Do you remember that address? They say to get your T-shirt, send a postal order for 12 and sixpence to 17 Curzon Street. That wasn't a postcard, was it? I do remember sending postcards, though, to the radio station, the pirate, probably to request records. That's right, because I did that in my teens, you know. You do daft things like that in your teens, don't you? I just remember when I last sent a postcard, when Trish and I were on the Isle of Wight several years ago, we sent a postcard to my mum and a postcard to her mum. I don't know why we did it. We were in this shop. Well, I do know why. And we saw this rack of postcards and we were looking through and Trish said, oh, look, your mum would like that and my mum would like this. So we bought the cards, wrote something on them, glad you're not here sort of thing, having a great time. And we put them in the letterbox. That takes you back a few decades, doesn't it? Talking of the Isle of Wight, we're all booked up for May 25. That's only, 5 months away now? Roughly 5 months, isn't it? I remember when we were leaving, we went into reception to drop off the keys and they said, are you coming next year? Oh, yes. So Trish booked up for the 4 of us next year. That's us two, her mum and her mum's friend. We're all getting older and her mum's friend last year had a little bit of trouble walking, so we didn't go too far. And I think this year, from what I've heard, she's not obviously getting any better. What we tend to do is take them somewhere, for example, take them to Ryde or Ventnor, drop them off, little row of shops and a cafe. They'll have tea and sticky buns or scones, cream tea or something there. And Trish and I take off somewhere more interesting, like up the hill at Ventnor to look at the aerials, the air traffic control aerials, which is far more interesting than sticky buns. I've just had a coughing fit. Dreadful. Whatever it is, it's still there. It's going though. Daughter number 2, her Christmas present to us, she's done this before. It's a weekend break somewhere. Is it 2 or 3 nights? A weekend break. You look through the list of places on this little booklet and you can choose where you want to stay. We've been down to the New Forest and we went to somewhere at the back of Bournemouth, I believe. So we haven't chosen yet, so that'll be something else to look forward to next year. A weekend break somewhere, which would be nice. I do sound a bit croaky now, don't I? Talking of breaks, I might have to have a break from this chatting in a minute. We are also in April, I believe, going to Bletchley Park, where the Enigma, Alan Turing and the Enigma machines and all the huts where they did all the code breaking and things. We've been there before, fantastic. We're going to go, I believe, for 2 or 3 nights with Trisha's sister and her husband. He's driving, which is good because we wanted to go and we were all chatting one evening and I said, I'm not driving up there again. I can't be bothered. I hate it. Up the M1, I hate it all. And he said, well, let's all go and I'll drive. Oh, right. That sounds good to me, definitely. So we're doing that. I think we're about to, I say we, Trisha and her sister are about to organise it all and book up everything. So we've got that to look forward to, which is nice. I think the idea was to stay in Milton Keynes in a hotel. Milton Keynes, I believe, is a city, isn't it? I didn't want that. I put my foot down. I said, no, I'm not going. You know me. I'm not going. I'm not going in the middle of the city, going round pubs in the evenings. I'm not doing that. I'm going there to see Bletchley Park and the Enigma machines. I'm not going there to drink every night. Anyway, change of plan. Trisha's sister said to me the other day, I found a nice little pub in Bletchley, not in Milton Keynes. It's outside in Bletchley, just down the road from Bletchley Park. It's a little pub and they've got rooms to let. I said, yeah, in that case I will go. I just can't stand to be in the middle of a city, in a hotel, surrounded by pubs and people. Yeah, that's not what I want at all, as you know. I'd rather rent a log cabin in the woods somewhere. But there aren't any log cabins in the woods around Bletchley Park, so that sounds good to me. A little pub that has rooms upstairs, so in the evening we can go down to the pub, either have a meal there or wander out somewhere locally to have a meal, but not in the middle of the city. As I said, we've been to Bletchley Park before and you do need at least 2 full days there. That's what we did last time. We stayed, I think, 3 nights, so we could have 2 whole days at Bletchley Park because there's so much to see. There's a load of computer stuff, from very early computers to modern stuff, which is separate from the actual Enigma machine place. But there's so much to see there and you really do have to spend a couple of days. It's no good going for 1 day because you won't fit it all in. There's also the RSGB radio, amateur radio place there. That's the Radio Society of Great Britain. They've got their station set up there and they made me more than welcome last time we went in, and I told them my call sign, oh, come in, come and sit down, have a go on the gear, have a go on the equipment. So that was all good fun. Trish loved that. She'd taken photos of me and stuff sitting there. So there is a lot to see. So next year, 2025, we're going to go out a bit more. As I've said before, we didn't go out a great deal this year. We joined the Pulborough Brooks wildlife place and only went once. When we joined, we didn't go back again. That's only up the road, up the A24. Amberley Museum, we've only been there 2 or 3 times. We normally go at least, 12, 15 times or more. In the summer, it's lovely. Go up there, walk around, have a cup of coffee. There's a nice restaurant there. It's a lovely museum, but we only went there 2 or 3 times. It's a shame. But this year, no, not this year, next year, 25, this year, next year, last year, I don't know. Talk about confusion. We are going to make an effort to get out a bit more. We had such a busy year. 24 has been so busy. We've just had so much family stuff going on and other stuff, moving furniture about for people and taking stuff out of one loft and putting it into our loft for temporary storage. Just so much going on. We've been to the local rubbish tip 100 times this year. Is that this year? Yes, 24. I don't know which year we're in. So we're going to have a calmer year, hopefully in 25, and do a few more things like Amberley and whatever. By the way, thank you for all your best wishes messages. Lovely. I have answered them all. I think I've answered them all. Lovely to hear from everyone wishing us all a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, of course. That's next Wednesday, isn't it? New Year's Day is next Wednesday, so you'll be listening to this on Sunday. We'll get back to normal. After this business, we can get back to normal, so I know what day it is. Well, no, I won't know what day it is, will I? I don't know what day it is when things are normal, let alone abnormal. I said after all this business. I like all this business. Christmas, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day. We had a lovely lunch, just the two of us. I lit the coal fire. We sat at the dining room table, had the fire going, Christmas music going, and we did our toasted tea cakes, Christmas Eve, by the fire. Lovely. It's all been very nice. I said earlier that I remember my first Christmas when I was 2 or 3 years old. My earliest memories of anything is my second birthday. I do remember my second birthday. I had a little pair of shears, sort of plastic pretend shears. Well, they weren't plastic back then. Well, they Bakelite, whatever they were. And I was pretending to cut our neighbour's front lawn. My mum was talking to the neighbour. And this neighbour said to me, "It's your birthday today." And I said, "Yes." She said, "How old are you?" And I just remember it. I said, "I'm 2. That was a while ago. Stone the crows, that was 71 years ago. I was going to say a lifetime, but well, of course it's a lifetime ago. That's going back to the Stone Age times, isn't it, when I was born? Stone Age. I like the Stone Age times. We were talking the other day, who was it? I think someone yesterday at the Boxing Day do we had. We were talking about Stone Age times. Oh, that's right. How I would have survived in the Stone Age times. I wouldn't have survived. Because the food they had then I wouldn't have liked. I'm not having that. I'm not eating that filth. So I would have probably died of starvation. I don't know. I suppose if you're born into the Stone Age times, then your flint tied to a stick with a leather strap. That was cutting edge technology, wasn't it? A flint chopper, which you can go and chop animals up with for dinner. I suppose that was, yes, it would be, wouldn't it? To the Stone Age people, that was modern times. Not that they thought of it that way, but they were modern times. Look what I've just invented. I've stuck this flint on a stick. I've tied it on with a bit of leather strap that I made, and I'm going to call it a chopper or an axe. They didn't speak. Could Stone Age people speak to each other? There we are. Who knows? We've got any historians out there, medieval type historians. Did Stone Age people speak, or did they just go, bit like me when I'm hungry, food, starved? I don't know. When did language start coming in? That's interesting, isn't it? I wonder what the first word was. Probably, probably hello or starved. That's interesting. I must look that up. There's something else to look up that I probably won't bother with, but I must try and look that up. Let me know. raiserants@protonmail.com. When did human beings start talking to each other? It must have started with one word, and then 2 words and 3 words. Someone's thirsty, so they look at someone else. Drink, drink. There you go, drink. They probably spoke Stone Age-ese. Is that right? English, French, Stone Age-ese. Of course, it wouldn't have been English, would it? What language was it? What would it be? I've no idea. Anyway, let's move on. We don't want to be silly, do we? Just had a member of the family pop round with a couple of things, and they were saying it's a funny time, this, between Christmas and New Year's Eve. It's a kind of no man's land, isn't it? Where Friday now, we've got Saturday, Sunday, Monday, nothing happens at all. Tuesday, and then of course Tuesday evening is New Year's Eve. It's a sort of no man's land, no man's time, which is rather nice. It's a bit of a break, isn't it? I was watching a news programme on telly yesterday. People are sending in photos of their Christmas dinner. Why? Why do we want to see other people's Christmas dinner? They were showing all these different pictures. Some people have got curry, some people have got turkey with stuffing and roast potatoes, Brussels sprouts. Do we need to see pictures of other people's dinner? I've never understood that. Some of our family members do that, daughter number 1 in particular. If they go away on holiday or for a weekend break, on WhatsApp, we get all these photographs of dinner and drinks and things. I don't want to see other people's dinner, thanks very much. Strange, isn't it? What I did find quite nice, people were sending in photos of their Christmas tree. Some people have gone to great lengths, like an 8-foot Christmas tree bent over at the top because it wouldn't fit under the 7'6" ceiling. Other people had a little Christmas tree. We got a pretend one. We don't have a real one. Not a pretend. What's the word for it? I don't know. Plastic one, I suppose. We get it out of the loft every year. We set it up, then we put it back in the loft. Then we get it out of the loft, and so it goes on. We've still got drawing pins in the picture rails where we hang strings to put all the Christmas cards on. And each year when we take all the cards down, I leave the drawing pins there. So they're there all year, ready for next time. Which comes round so quickly, of course, doesn't it? Before we know it, it'll be Christmas 25. Stop it, you're saying. Don't wish your life away. Now, we've got the summer to look forward to. Lighter evenings start from 21st. So we're getting lighter now, except we're not really. So we've got the spring and the summer to look forward to. We've got summer holiday in the Isle of Wight. Have you anything booked? Where are you going next summer for a holiday? Raise rants at protonmail.com. Let me know where you're going. And I can tell everyone else and they'll be envious. Or even if you're not going on holiday, then let me know and tell me why you're not going on holiday. Do you know a lot of people don't? I know several people, they don't go away on holiday. If they're at work, they enjoy time at home in their garden, which I think is a nice idea. If you've got a nice garden and you enjoy that sort of thing, the sun's out, why spend hundreds, if not thousands of pounds by going away somewhere? Just stay at home and enjoy your holiday. Lovely. I've got to set up my trail cam properly somewhere in the garden. I might put it by the pond, perhaps when the spring comes along, to see whether we have any frogs. We did have frogs. I think they're quite elusive. You don't see them for weeks and suddenly, oh look, there's 2 frogs. Then they disappear again. But the trail cam, it's got a sensor, a motion sensor, so it will record any movement, which will be rather good. I need to put some new batteries in it. The batteries that come from China, says on the label, these are only just to get you set up initially. What they mean is the batteries are no good. They're cheap rubbish and they'll only last a few hours, which they've done, so I've got to put some proper batteries in. I've still got my list of jobs on the desk here from last summer. Creosote the fences, didn't do that. Stop the shed roof leaking, didn't do that. Get the pressure washer out and clean the patio, didn't do that. I've got a whole list of jobs I was supposed to have done last year. Prune the cherry tree, which I can see from the front window here. That I'm going to do in the spring. There's no leaves on it. I've borrowed next door's ladder. We've got our own ladder. It's a lovely aluminium ladder, or aluminum, as you call it over the pond. Aluminum. The problem is I can't get to it. We've made this sort of run for the tortoise, for old Gazzo the tortoise, and it's got netting on top and everything, and the ladder's in there. So to get the ladder out, I've got to take all the netting off, and it's just a palaver. So I've nicked our neighbour's ladder, and I shall use that, prop it up against the tree, and then I was going to say I'll go up there and prune the tree. I'll rephrase that. Tricia will go up there and prune the tree. She's younger than me. She's good at climbing trees. Of course, once the spring starts, everything starts growing. We've got a huge bush thing. It's almost a tree. We call it Spike. It's got needle sharp, really sharp razor blade type leaves. It's very nice, but that grows like mad. I have to keep cutting that down. Can you picture me up a step ladder, really thick gloves on with these lopper things, chopping lumps off it? We get a lot of birds in there. I saw a blackbird yesterday. A blackbird, a robin, our pair of jays, of course, a starling, some sparrows. So the birds are beginning to come back. We hadn't seen sparrows for several weeks. Going way back, probably a couple of months or more, no sparrows, which is odd, or starlings. So now we've got, the blackbird, the starlings, the robin, the jays, pigeons, of course, we've always got pigeons. And seagulls, they're always round. They don't come into the garden much anymore, the seagulls, which is nice. The trouble is with the seagulls, they eat everything in sight. They eat hedgehog food. When we put that out, they just come down and pig the whole lot. They take anything and everything. Put out seeds and nuts for the squirrels. The seagulls have that lot. So they've disappeared. I don't know why, but they've disappeared. We did have a lot. They'd all swoop down and land on the lawn. But they've all disappeared. Well, not disappeared. They're flying around in the sky, but they don't visit us anymore, which is good. We're now coming up to half an hour on the recording. So I'm going to go and have a break, give my throat a rest, because it's beginning to sound a bit croaky again. Be nice to get rid of this stupid cold. What is the point of having a cold? Where do they come from, colds? Where have I got this from? But what is the point? It doesn't do anything. Someone was saying, oh, it strengthens your immune system. Well, it doesn't, because I still get colds. How come you don't become immune to colds? Anyway, not to worry. I'm going to have a break. Perhaps some elevenses. Do you remember that word, elevenses? I first heard that when I was, 5 or 6. Round my grandmother's. I was staying round there for a few days. I don't know why. And she said, oh, it's time for our elevenses. And I'm thinking, well, what's she on about? Elevenses? Woman's gone mad. Well, I didn't think that at 5 or 6 years old. Woman's gone balmy. Fallen out of her tree, lost her marbles. Sandwich short of a picnic. I love some of those expressions. Was it a shilling short of a pound? Or, sandwich short of a picnic, isn't it? Anyway, it was elevenses. At 11 o'clock, you have a cup of coffee or something, or in my case, a glass of orange juice. and a little snack. And I've always liked 11s. And then there's high tea. What is high tea? So you have lunch, you have 11s, then lunch. Then you have high tea. Cucumber sandwiches on the terrace. Not sarnies, that's common. Cucumber sandwiches, don't you know, on the terrace. What? Jolly fine. Jolly hockey sticks. I do talk rubbish, don't I? I don't know why you listen. It just amazes me why you listen to me sometimes. I just talk so much. Right, I'm going to give my throat a rest and I'll give your ears a rest. Now, I'll be back in a nanosecond, but you can switch off for a while if you want. Press pause and come back later. See you in a minute. Well, it's now Saturday. I had a dreadful night. This cough and cold has really come out now. Dreadful. I'll tell you what did happen. Boxing Day, when we had everyone round here. I'll tell you what happened. A couple of people started talking politics. Now, many years ago, I put a notice up in the lounge and the dining room, politics-free zone, because I got fed up with it. Everyone would get together and, Labour Party, Conservatives, and I used to think, no, we're not here for that. We're here as a family getting together, not to moan about politics. Anyway, a couple of people started on. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Nigel Farage, Keir Starmer, and I thought, what is it? It's Christmas. What is this all about? I don't want to talk about Donald Trump at Christmas or Nigel Farage. Anyway, it only lasted for a few minutes. I'm going to have to get those notices out again and stick them on the wall. Politics-free zone. Something the government, is it, or someone's been talking about the government. I'm not talking politics. They were saying, how about making Christmas Eve a bank holiday? That's when it's a day off for everyone in the country, a bank holiday. And a lot of people were saying on the radio, I was listening to some programme, we don't want a bank holiday Christmas Eve. It's great being at work. Now, I remember in the workshop, did I tell you this the other day? I have no idea. If I did, I apologise. I don't know what I've said to you half the time. I don't know what I'm talking about. It was really good at work on Christmas Eve. We'd go over to the pub at lunchtime, 1 o'clock. We'd get back about 2:30, maybe 3, mill around in the workshop, and the boss would say, look, go home, you lot. You're not in any fit state to repair television. Got all clear off home. Have a good Christmas. Christmas Eve was just fantastic. We'd all go home, have something to eat, and then meet in the pub that night. Christmas Eve in the pub, back in the 60s. Fantastic. The jukebox was going. Proper music, none of this modern rubbish. Proper 1960s music. Herman's Hermits. Do you remember Herman's Hermits? Oh, I'm going to start coughing in a minute. Jerry and the Pacemakers, the Beatles, the Stones. Fantastic. We're all in the pub. Glasses chinking and clinking and whatever they do. Jukebox going. It was just fantastic. The Christmas tree, the decorations, absolutely amazing. And I think to have the day off Christmas Eve, you'd wake up, oh, no work today. Oh, right, Christmas Eve. Right, well, what shall we do? No, I wouldn't like that at all. Oh, I saw on the telly yesterday, was it, or whatever, Oxford Street, Boxing Day. Shops are closed. There's hardly anyone around. A few shops are open. There's hardly anyone around. They used to have the Boxing Day sales. And that was a real event. There'd be people camping out overnight. They had tents. They're sleeping in tents overnight in the street to be the first in the queue when the doors opened in these big stores. There's nothing. There's no one there. They had a camera crew there. Well, I say a camera crew. These days it's 2 people, isn't it? The chap talking and the cameraman. In the old days you'd have your sound man and your director and whoever else, all sorts of people. And they were panning around with the camera. And there's just no one there. There's a few people milling around doing nothing. And they were saying that it's all ended. It's because of this online stuff. How can high street shops entice people back? This is what some of the shopkeepers were saying. How can we get people back into the high street? Well, to be honest, I don't think you can. I don't see how they can. People don't want to traipse downtown and wander around the high street in the cold. They're sitting by their fire, toasting tea cakes, mulled wine, port and lemon, sit by the fire with the iPad. I'll have one of those, click, I'll have one of those, click. And the next day it's all delivered to your door. Or maybe the next week or 2 weeks or not at all, depending on where you're buying it from. So I really don't see how they can entice people back to the high street, as they were saying. You can't revive something like that that's dead. It's a tradition, isn't it, that's gone. All rushing down into town, rushing up to London, up into the smoke, as they used to call it, to save money on some what is it? Big ticket item? Yeah, big ticket, isn't it? Items like tellies for a few £100. It's all gone. I don't think people will ever go back. But anyway, there we are. That's just what I think. Oh, one chap I'd almost forgotten. He was saying we want to make it a pleasant experience. When has going into town with hordes of people everywhere, going around shops, been a pleasant experience? Certainly not in my case. I hate it. He was saying we've got to get people back into town, make it a pleasant experience. They'll have a coffee in a coffee shop, perhaps something to eat, have lunch out perhaps. I don't think that everyone wants to do that. People want to get the Christmas shopping over with. It's a chore, isn't it, to a lot of people? It certainly is to me. Well, actually, it's not, because I don't do any Christmas shopping. I ordered Trisha's headphones online. They turned up the next day, so that was good. And all I had to do was wrap them and put a ticket thing on a label saying, "To Trish from Ray." That was that. That was easy. Oh, and a card. I didn't even have to go out for the card. I got that from Moonpig. The reason I use Moonpig cards is because in our local shops, I don't know about where you are, the cards there are just, I don't know, they're awful. They do have Christmas cards, birthday cards, but a very, very limited choice. Whereas Moonpig, you can put your photographs in, can't you? Things like that. I know it costs a bit more, a few pounds more, but again, they're delivered within a couple of days. You get the card arrive, or you can have it sent directly to someone's address, which is handy. Having said that, we did send some to North Carolina one year. We sent cards there, direct from Moonpig. They didn't turn up. They never arrived in North Carolina, so I don't know where they went. I was talking to someone the other day about the podcast, and they were saying, oh, they love them. This is someone locally, a friend of mine. They love the podcast, really nice. They love walking through the past. And I thought that was rather a nice way of putting it, walking through the past, going back to school days and summer holidays in the woods. Reminds me of that record, was it? Seasons in the Sun. Don't worry, I won't start singing. But it is nice, walking through the past. I just thought that rather nice. Going back to Christmas when I was a child, it was great fun opening the presents. I think these days, not everyone, but some children get far too many presents. There's something else they were chatting about on the telly recently. Children with piles of presents. You know, they come rushing down Christmas morning, and round the tree is just a mass of presents. Far, far too many presents. I know these days that's what people do. They don't have to worry about money, just put it all on the credit card. Whereas in my day, in the 50s, 60s, parents didn't have credit cards and stuff like that. They had to go to the local shop and pay cash. So children didn't get as many presents back then. But I think we appreciated the presents far more. Getting one or two, or perhaps 3 or 4 presents was really nice, rather than like 12, 13, 14, 15 presents where you're chucking packaging everywhere and you're opening this and opening that. Oh, I don't like that one. I don't like this one. Oh, talking of that, many years ago, Trish and I popped round to a friend's place. It was Boxing Day afternoon, I think it was, and they were opening their presents. I don't know why it was Boxing Day afternoon. They'd been away or something. And they had some children. What were they, about 7, 8, 9 years old, these kids? And we're sitting there having our mulled wine or whatever it was, probably port and lemon, knowing me. And one of the children opened a present. Oh, I don't like that, and threw it across the room. And Trish and I looked at each other. Oh dear, that's not very well behaved. And the other child opened a present. Oh, is that it? And I thought, stone the crow, these kids are rude. Their mum tried to calm them down. Oh, don't you like that? Oh, well, we can always change it. If you don't like it, I can take it back to the shop and change it. And again, Trish and I are looking at each other. I was thinking they need a damn good thrashing. Don't know about changing the present. Many years ago, this girl, I won't go into who it was, nothing to do with our family, this girl was given 200 quid by her parents. She wanted some money. I forget what she was doing. She was in her teens. The parents gave her 200, and she opened the envelope and she counted it. Oh, £200. Oh, I thought there'd be more than that. Is that it? 200? And I didn't know what to say or think. I just stood there and watched the parents look at this girl. Oh, sorry. Well, that's all we could afford. Sorry, it's not more. I thought, sorry, I'd give her a damn good thrashing, the rude. There have been a lot of beeps in this episode, haven't there? At least I've put beeps in instead of swearing. I don't swear anyway, really. I do know some people, every sentence is punctuated with expletives. I don't think that's necessary. especially on a podcast like this where you've got family listening, children perhaps within earshot or actually listening to it, as I know that we do have. We do have some younger listeners as well as older listeners, and they don't want to hear me swearing, do they? The weather hasn't really changed much now. It's Saturday. I thought we'd have a bit of sunshine. It's just dull and overcast. I was reading online this morning when I was in bed, awake about 3:30 or something daft. People are saying all this dull, overcast, the grey sky and everything, the government have done it. Is that right? What do you think about that? Have the government done it? Aircraft are spraying the skies with chemicals and they're interfering with the weather. I don't know whether that's right. What do you think? Raise rants at protonmail.com. There was someone in Norfolk saying it's been overcast here for several days. Someone in Wales and here and down in southern England, and we're up north and it's been overcast here for a week. And one or two other people were saying, hang on, it's winter time. This is what happens in the winter. We get mist, we get fog, we get cold, we get overcast. We don't have lots of sunny, hot, beautiful, brilliant days. Anyway, we shall leave that there. I really don't know what to think. As far as I'm concerned, it's winter. It was like this when I was a kid. Back in the 50s, we had dull, dark, grey, miserable, horrible, boring winters. The only highlight for me was Christmas, of course, and snow, if it came. Talking about the high street and shopping as I was earlier, back in the 50s when I was a child, I would be taken into town as we're approaching Christmas. And it was wonderful. They had a big tree in town all lit up. All the shop windows were sprayed with snow, as if it had been snowing on them. Yes, they did have spray cans of snow back then, I remember that. All the shop windows had Christmas decorations in there. Across the street in town, there were lights all across everywhere, all lit up, looking wonderful. Snowmen lit up, Santa Claus all lit up. Music, of course, playing everywhere. Everyone was playing Christmas music, whatever shop you go near or into. There's Christmas music blasting out. It was a wonderful time. It's difficult to explain what it was like if you weren't there. For me to try to tell you what it was like, it's very difficult, impossible actually. You had to be there to appreciate it. These days, I did go downtown, was it a week or two ago? I dropped Trisha off for something or other, and there was nothing there, really, nothing to look at. One or two Christmassy bits here and there, but boring. That's the only word I can think of, really, boring. I don't know what's happened, because back in the 50s, 60s, maybe even the 70s and 80s, people put a lot of effort into it. People were jolly at Christmas time. Perhaps it's because I was younger. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking back through those, rose-tinted glasses or something. But I do remember everything was far more festive, especially in town. If I went into town with a group of friends in the evening, perhaps we go to a pub or a nightclub or something, there were lights everywhere, Christmas decorations everywhere. It was really festive, is the only word I can think of. Whereas now it seems that apathy rules. Oh, Christmas. Oh, I suppose we could put up a couple of lights if we have to. Apparently Easter eggs are for sale in the shops already. Can you believe that? Easter eggs. What is the point? I think these shops, especially the big supermarkets, they just can't wait to get to the next event. Right, let's make some more money. What's next? Easter. Right, let's get a load of Easter eggs in. Let's make a few million quid out of that. Easter eggs in January. Well, no, it's not January, is it? We're still in December. And from what I've heard, there are Easter eggs in the shops already. Not all the shops, of course, but some of them already. It's like mince pies, isn't it? Christmas puddings, Christmas crackers. They're in the supermarkets in August. And you're thinking, hang on a minute, isn't it summer? I'm getting confused here. It's August. Christmas is miles off. How things have changed. Just going back to shops and sales after Christmas. The January sales, wasn't it? All that sort of stuff used to go on years ago. I remember our local sweet shop. Well, it was more than a sweet shop. It was a newsagent's. They sold toys. They sold fireworks. It was a big shop, but local to us, along with a lot of other shops, the greengrocer, the butcher, the ironmonger, the electrical shop, whole row of shops where I used to live when I was a child. After Christmas, what I call the sweet shop had a sale, and all the toys and stuff that hadn't sold for Christmas were reduced in price, so that was the time to buy things. I used to save up pocket money and go there after Christmas, and I'd buy those little dinky cars. Do you remember dinky cars? I wish I kept them all. They'd be worth a fortune now. What some shops did, and a friend of mine, his dad had a shop, he would keep his Christmas stock that hadn't sold till the following year. So, of course, the following Christmas would come and he'd get out last year's Christmas stock. It was in Shoreham, a toy shop in Shoreham. Anyway, he'd get out last year's stock and he'd make even more of a profit on it because costs had gone up, prices had increased. He'd paid last year's prices. And he did that every year. Anything that didn't sell at Christmas, he put it all in his stock room out the back. I remember going out there and having a look. That was one summer. And he had a load of Christmas stuff out there, which was ready for the following Christmas, of course. Quite an entrepreneur, that chap was. The shop isn't there now. I'm going back, to my childhood, of course. I remember hearing a couple of adults. I forget where we were. Again, I was early teens, I suppose. I'm not sure where we were, but they were talking about opening a shop. This must have been early 60s, very early 60s. And one of them wanted to open a shop. He wanted to leave the job he was in and start up his own business. But he wasn't sure what to sell. And I remember thinking that's rather strange. If you're thinking of opening a shop, well, surely you'd have an idea of what you're going to sell. You must be perhaps expertise in something or other, whether it be selling sewing machines or electrical items, televisions, radios, or a knitting shop. So you're selling wool and patterns for making jumpers and things. Anyway, this chap hadn't got a clue. And the other chap was saying to him, you want to sell something that people want to buy, not that they need to buy. And do you know, that always stuck in my mind. If your washing machine has gone wrong, say the pump's faulty, you have to go and buy a pump. You don't want to buy a pump for the washing machine. You don't want to spend money on that, do you? I'm assuming here that you're able to replace the pump yourself, rather than call someone out. If you call someone out, there's a call-out charge and all the rest of it. So you don't want to have to go and buy a pump from your local spares shop. But if you open something like, what can I think of, a hobby shop, where they sell train sets and model aircraft bits, radio-controlled cars, so your customers will be adults as well as youngsters and children. People want to buy stuff. They'll go into your shop and they'll see the latest radio-controlled aeroplane that you've got in stock. They'll look at that. Oh, I really want that. I want that. I want that. I'm going to have to save up for that. I really want that. You're not going to do that when you go into a shop and say, oh, I've got a so-and-so washing machine. I need a pump for it. How much? Oh, no. Oh, well, I'll have to have it, I suppose. You see what I mean? When I worked in the marine electronics place, you get a local fisherman come in and he'd say, what radios have you got? I need a VHF radio for my boat. Perhaps the one he'd got was old and it didn't work very well. And we'd show him a few models. We got this one, we got that one. That one's got 5 channels, the basic channels. You can have this one. This has got 20 channels. And of course his eyes would light up. And I do remember one chap in particular. He said, oh, I like that one. A couple of my mates have got that type of radio. They're brilliant. How much is it? And of course, when he was told the price, ooh, eek. Well, he didn't say eek. People didn't say eek back then. Where's that come from, I wonder? Anyway, we'll pretend he did. Eek, how much? And he found the money. I remember he came back some time later, some days later. That radio, I'll have that. I've got cash here. He wanted it. That's the point. It's the same with my amateur radio hobby, ham radio. There are some radios out there, they're £3,000 or £4,000 or even more. Now, I wouldn't spend that much on a radio. It's just a lot of money. It's too much, really. My main radio, cost £1,200. That's enough. I wouldn't want to spend more than that. But of course, some people do. It's their hobby. The latest radio's come out. It's £4,500. I want that. They sell things, they get the money together and they buy it because they want it. Anyway, that's enough of that. Why am I talking about shops? Oh yeah, because that chap's dad had a toy shop in Shoreham, just opposite the footbridge, if you know Shoreham. Opposite the footbridge on the main road side, where all the shops are. It was on the corner there. I forget what it was called. I think the chap's name was Dennis. Anyway, moving on. As I said at the beginning of this episode, Christmas Eve is done, the shopping's done, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, just the new year to come in, and it's done, 2025. Imagine that, 2025. What are you looking forward to? Have I asked you this? Probably already. New Year's resolutions I do not do, they're a waste of time. Have you any New Year's resolutions that you've made? Raise Rants at protonmail.com. Let me know what you intend to do in the new year, or intend not to do, try not to do. Give up this, give up that. I think I need to give up food. I've just been eating licorice. Do you like licorice? When I was a kid, talking about that sweet shop, they had a whole range of sweets. Do you remember the shops with the jars, all the jars? Quarter of pear drops, a quarter of lemon drops and whatever, quarter of aniseed balls, and you'd get a little paper bag, a white paper bag, with your sweets in. And the lady would measure out £1/4, tip them out of the big jar into the weighing thing, the scales, and then tip that into a little bag. That was the way to buy sweets. And there were the sherbet. Do you remember the sherbet things? Yellow tube with the licorice sticking out of the end. They were nice. Sherbet was nice. I would imagine it was made of, well, just pure sugar. The actual sherbet itself with a bit of flavouring in there. Probably some chemical or other. All sorts of sweets like that. Do you remember the flying saucers? Were they called flying saucers? Those sort of round things of different colours. Then there were the aniseed balls. They were nice, aniseed balls. Can you still get all this stuff? I don't know where you'd buy it from because we don't have sweet shops anymore as such, do we? Or do we? I don't know. I'll tell you what I'm going to have to do one of these days. I will walk into town with Tricia and have a look at the shops down there because I haven't got a clue what's going on. Are there sweet shops in town? There used to be a lovely tobacconist on the corner of Portland Road in Worthing. He sold cigars, pipes, lighters, Zippo lighters, gas, petrol for lighters, just about every brand of cigarette you could think of. I'm not sure what else he sold, but he was mainly a tobacconist. We don't have tobacconists anymore, do we? Do you have them where you are, wherever you are in the world, a tobacconist? Rizzler, papers, filters, cigarette rolling machines. I had a cigarette rolling machine. Who remembers those? Decades ago. You put your paper in and the tobacco and a little filter if you wanted to. Then you'd roll the thing. Then you'd lick the gummed strip on the paper, roll it up tight, and you've rolled yourself a cigarette. You had all the palaver. You had your lighter, your tin of tobacco, and your rolling machine with the filters. All this palaver you had to take wherever you went. You had to take it with you, because if you're addicted, you needed nicotine. You had to have a cigarette, so you had to have all your paraphernalia. There's a word, paraphernalia. One of the best things I ever did was give up smoking. Of course, back in the 60s, my parents smoked. I went to work when I was 15. Everyone in the workshop smoked. Well, all but one or two. One or two people didn't. And of course, if you didn't smoke, you were looked upon as rather strange. Whereas these days, if you do smoke, you're looked upon as rather strange. As I said earlier, how things have changed. Back then in the 60s, people used to do things to their cars. Teenage lads I'm talking about. People in their early 20s. They loved their cars and they did all sorts of things, put fur on the dashboard. I did that. I got an old fur coat, not a real fur coat, a synthetic thing. I cut it up and I glued the fur right along the top of the dashboard. I suppose I thought it looked good. Thinking back, it probably looked dreadful. But that's what we did. And we put aerials on cars, big aerials. And stickers. Stickers, you had to have a sticker in the back window. What was mine? Run baby run. My sticker. That was in the back of my MG Magnet, the Farina style. Run, baby, run. I even remember the garage I bought that from. I went in for petrol and I was paying the chap and I saw these stickers. I said, I'll have one of those. I don't know why I bought it. Anyway, I stuck it on the back window. Do you remember the stickers? People had all sorts of stickers on the bumper of the car, on the back of the car, on the back window. I didn't like too many. I just had that one sticker. And of course, inside the car, you do a lot of modifications, fit some decent speakers in the back parcel shelf, get yourself a decent car radio. Being in the trade, I got myself a decent car radio. Sounded really nice, with big speakers fitted in the back parcel shelf. And I think I had a couple of speakers under the dashboard, under the footwell there, which was good, which sounded good. Oh, and lights under there. In the footwell, I just had some very dim purple lights, which look great at night. Honestly, the things we did to cars back then, people don't do that now, do they? Or what they do, I don't know whether it's still a thing that's done, but fit like 1,000-watt amplifiers and huge speakers. My North Carolina son did that, I remember. He drove me around the block, and it was just so loud. My hair was, everything was going mental. It was so loud. It was frightening. In a way, it was frightening. Do you remember that if you're listening? I bet you do. That was your red car. Was it a Ford something? I don't know how many watts it was, but he had extra batteries in there and all this gear, all this palaver and peripheral. Peripheral? That's not right, is it? Isn't that something to eat? Anyway, that was that. That was all good fun. It was the bass, of course, wasn't it? I have heard one or two actually in the last couple of years, driving around with the bass going oomcha, oomcha, oomcha. Good fun that was, but of course that was when my son was in his teens. When I was in my teens, we did the aerials, the decent car radio, and various other bits and pieces. A friend of mine put a TV in his car, in the back of his car. Philips brought out the first transistor 12-volt television, and he got hold of one because we worked in the workshop, you know. He was older than me. He got hold of one and put it in the back of his car. And he said it was great when you take the girls out, you know, you could watch telly. And I do remember one of the older chaps saying to him, surely if you've got a girl in the back of your car, you don't want to watch telly, do you? Right, we'll leave that there. Let's move on. Actually, just before we move on, I was in a car park, sitting in the back of my car with a girl, and the door just got yanked open. It was dark, and I looked thinking, who on earth is this? You know, someone come to rob me or something? It was a friend of mine. And I said, oh, hello. He said, oh, sorry, Ray, sorry. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm looking for my wife. Looking for his wife. Oh, dear. She was off out with some bloke. He recognised my car. I spoke to him the following day at work. He recognised my car and thought I was in the back of my car with his wife. Well, of course I wasn't. He's no longer with us. He passed away some years ago. Him and his wife split up shortly after that, so I don't know what was going on there. It was always a shame when people split up, but so many of them did back then. Do they these days? I suppose they do. I remember people getting married and thinking, oh, that's good. They're really good together. They're well suited. You know, a couple of years later, they're divorced. Right, we're coming up to the hour. I had a sleep just now. I felt that rough. I got a bit of a sore throat coming on again. So what I might do is have a Stone's ginger wine. A glass of Stone's ginger wine. Do you know, it's rather good. Medicinal purposes only, you understand. Very good for sore throats. Mind you, so is beer. So is port and lemon. No, it's not. Not really. Have you ever tried Stone's ginger wine? It's very much a Christmas drink. My mum got me a bottle for Christmas, and she bought Trish a bottle of Prosecco. What is this Prosecco stuff? Everyone drinks Prosecco these days. I don't like wine and all that nonsense, but I do like Stone's ginger wine. Well, it's not wine, is it? I suppose it is. Give that a try. Next time you're next time you're in an off licence, or in America, what is it? A liquor store. That's good, isn't it? A liquor store. A drugstore you have over there, don't you? Drugstores where you can buy drugs. Then you go down the road to the liquor store and buy liquor. So do try Stone's ginger wine. It's a Christmassy type drink. I don't like that eggnog. Is it avocado? Is it eggnog, people call it? It's made with eggs. It's all yellow and horrible. I did have a little sip once of someone's. It must have been Trisha's decades ago. And it was disgusting. I don't want an egg drink. That's just not right at all, is it? I don't like Baileys. Who likes Baileys? Is that coffee? Like a coffee liqueur or something? Cointreau. Do you know, I tried Cointreau many, many decades ago. That's like an orange liqueur. And when you undo the lid of the bottle, there's all kind of sugar around it. It's all sticky. I think the whole thing must be made of sugar. I don't like drinks like that. I don't like wine. I don't like spirits. Anyway, why am I going on about drinks? I will try a ginger wine, a glass of ginger wine in a minute. Trisha's out. She's gone over somewhere or other with her sister's husband and her mother. They've all gone to see some chap, I don't know what he does, Elvis impressions or something. And, you know, he sings Elvis stuff and Cliff Richard stuff. And her sister said to me the other day, why don't you come and join us, Ray? I said, no, I'll be busy. Well, as it happens, I don't feel very well. So that's my excuse. It's just not my type of thing. But it's great that Trish can go. She's driven off over there. Oh, she's taken a bottle of, talking of Prosecco, of, what is it called? Non-Secco. There's no alcohol in it. Looks like a bottle of champagne. I think it's non-Secco. So it's Prosecco, but no alcohol. I don't know, something daft. Do you remember those alcohol-free drinks in bottles? They were disgusting. I tried a couple of bottles, must be about a year ago. Went to brother-in-law's place, and he said, look, you're driving, do you want to try these? And I had a couple of bottles. It was disgusting. I said, no, I'd rather have a cup of tea when I'm driving. I don't want any pretend beer. I don't see the point in having pretend beer. I'm going to leave you in peace. It's an hour now, just about. So I shall talk to you. When will I talk to you next? I've no idea, what with all these Christmas days and things, where we are. Oh, yes, I do. I know when I'll talk to you next. New Year's Day, Wednesday, with a New Year's midweek message. That's good. We can look forward to that. So, as I keep saying, I hope you had a good Christmas. Hope you behaved yourself. And if you didn't, don't get caught. Were you bad? If you were bad, let me know. Rants@protonmail.com. I am going to have something for my throat. Probably licorice and ginger wine. No, that won't go together, will it? Take care, look after yourselves. Really enjoyed talking to you. It's actually made me feel a bit better chatting to you today, which is nice. I shall see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye for now.